Okay, welcome everybody to the Renee Adams Show. Today, I introduce you to my leader of influence, Christy Rutherford. She is a globally recognized leader. First, she is a six-time best-selling author of 8 books, a certified executive coach, leadership coach, and unbelievably, I love this part. She actually was African American.
That was my phone.
Oh, during this wonderful introduction, she's good though. But I just want to make sure that we recognize her as the 13th African American to achieve the rank of Commander Lieutenant Colonel, which in the U.S. Coast Guards of a 225-year history where her demographic was 1%. That is an outstanding achievement. Wonderful achievement. But more so, we're really going to get to know Christy and her struggles and get to know her for who she is and what she's been doing today in her life. So welcome, Christy, to the show.
Thanks, Renee. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to share with the audience. And so I was trying to, on the slide, we just talked about, I am a comedian, but to share with my Facebook family, my phone is on the floor. So we're going to leave it there.
Okay, we're moving on. We're good. As long as we have, you'll see sometimes, I have my phone right here too, right? So laptop, and we have the phones. So you got your laptop. You're good. So yeah. Absolutely. I'm just really excited for my audience and just people. It's going to be even more people that's going to hear about your story and your struggles in the career world and the corporate world and what you had to go through and your challenges, your struggles, and your magnificent intelligence and brains to be able to maneuver and navigate in such a bold, courageous way. And that's why I'm excited to talk to you, because I think a lot of people will absolutely be able to learn some of the mistakes, but also some of the great things that you achieved and how you were able to achieve those things. So, yeah. So if you can tell everybody a little bit about your backstory.
A little bit of the backstory is I'm from South Carolina, small town, class clown, 1988 and 93. There was no one funnier than me. And so ended up going to South Carolina State, majored in agricultural business, and I joined the military while I was in college. So I wasn't necessarily military material because I'm a comedian, but I was trying to get paid, and I wanted to have a guaranteed job when I graduated from college. And so I ended up joining the Coast Guard, and it's an amazing organization. So, regardless of the challenges, and what I found, Renee, is I thought that I was the only one having these challenges and being a sister and rising and having, all these awards and accolades and doing all these things. But when I left, what I found was ambitious women. So the women who go for it, the women who have strength, the women who have power, the women who want to excel, we have the exact same challenges around the world. So it's really about the challenges that I experience. People who are lawyers experience the same challenges. Women who are doctors experience the same challenge, or bankers. So I don't want to vilify like some of my shitmates. So like, Christy, you're vilifying our service. I'm like, no, I had some challenges. So let's not get it twisted. But I also had some great times. So ended up chasing drug runners around the Caribbean, regulated all the large oil companies. I worked on Capitol Hill for 3 years for Elijah Cummings. And then I actually resigned prematurely at 16 and a half years with 3.5 years left to retire with a full pension. So I would have retired 2 years ago had I stayed, but at the end of the day, I burned out.
Right. You were burned out. And that is, and it comes to a certain realization to be able to leave all of that behind, what you worked so hard for, and so many scars that you endured during that time as well, that some people would just think, well, I only have 3.5 years left and I can just, retire and don't have to think about this anymore and just live my life. But instead, you retired and decided to, what did you do? What did you do after that?
So I resigned, and so I got nothing, right? Like I tell people, I ran away from my career like Tina Turner ran from Ike in that white suit.
Wow.
It wasn't nothing I could do with it. At the end of the day, Renee, I was done.
But why were you, what got you to that point?
Yeah, it was a culmination of things. So it took a year. I laid out, actually probably I slept for a year. And what I learned was I created this situation where my success was suffocating me. And whether it was arguing with people or being that only Black woman in a room of 250 people and having to maintain my own, but then starting to I think have challenges with peers who don't understand the strength, or people who want to not see you succeed, and so having those battles, and then mentoring a lot of people and giving to everyone and not giving to myself. So it was a culmination of things, and that's what we could talk about over this interview. Is if I didn't leave, I was gonna die. I'm not the person who can stop working and be lame. I'm giving 150% or I'm giving nothing. So I'm only accustomed to giving all, and giving all was going to kill me. And I've met so many women who are burning out, women who have heart attacks, they have strokes, they die. Like, it was a teacher or actually a principal in Australia who died at her desk. So we become so addicted to success and addicted to really sometimes chaos that we don't know how to stop the whirlwind that we're in. So I just had to have that clean break and just run away to really save myself.
But what even got you to that point of having this like bold like mentality and courageousness, you know, about yourself? What was in you? What kind of fire is that? Like, I don't even know what that is. Like, to have that kind of fire to where you on the battlefield every single day you get up and you have to go in there and fight for your position or where you're wanting to go. You know, it's a certain kind of drive and mentality that it takes to get to where you ended up.
Well, I think one of the things that makes me unique is when people tell me I rise in opposition. So when you tell me what I can't do, I actually get excited. So sometimes women shrink when people say you can't do something, and they say, oh, they give up and they lose self-confidence. I say, okay, I'm gonna prove you wrong. So I remember early in my career having to, and the foundation is, so there's a base study that says women lose their ambition in the first 2 years of their career. So when we first go into our careers, 67% of women aspire to executive level positions and 35% of men. After 2 years, Renee, it's 16%. So we plummet from 67% to 16%. Confidence falls by 50% and men remain the same. So we're taken out in the first 2 years. And I was fortunate to have some phenomenal bosses who stretched us beyond measure, me and one of my other friends, and showed us what we were really made of early on in our career. So when I got to the next job and people started to beat me down, I was already showing my strength. Does that make sense? I was already shown what I was made of. I had already been grown and stretched and said, hey, we believe in you. So when the people came and say, we don't believe in you, I said, I'm going to prove you wrong. Okay. So the challenge is, I thought that, like, one example was it takes 4 months to get a qualification, and I had 2 months to get it done. And the guy told me it was impossible, and he was nasty about it. And I said, okay, so I was ready in 2 weeks, but I waited another 2 weeks and twiddled my thumbs. So he came in to sit in on it's like an interview, basically, to make sure I didn't cheat or nobody gave me anything. Wow. And so I got it in 4 weeks when it typically takes people 4 months to do. Wow. So I thought that if I did that in my 20s, that I create that foundation again. But here I am, 35, 36, doing the exact same thing. So that's the thing. I never stopped fighting. I became so addicted to proving people wrong that I was working myself to death, proving people wrong.
Was it getting easier
and that was crazy.
Was it getting easier for you to prove people wrong? Because it seemed though you kind of knew how how the system worked and how to navigate a lot easier than a lot of people through those challenges. But no, you don't think.
I think the work is the work, right? Like it became, I believed in myself more, but there's still work to be done. And so there was, just like we do search and rescue. So if somebody's out in the ocean and their ship, like Mayday, right? What people call Mayday, or if they're in a jet ski and they crash, like we do that depending on which waterway they're in. And that's another qualification. And so I'm thinking that I had to get this qualification and it's another thing, but now I'm 35 and it takes, X number of time to do it. And I had to do it in a very condensed time frame on my own time. So while everybody's out living their life and everybody's out, meeting people or networking or meeting a guy or dating somebody or doing something other than working, I'm still working. So the work is the work. I think it became, I knew that I could do it, which is one thing, but it wasn't necessarily easier.
You knew what your power was. You knew what you were worth. And a lot of people don't even know what that is. They don't even know how to stand in their power. And when we talk about, the women or whoever it is, they come into a career and have these ambitions and it plummets. The motivation plummets. Their confidence plummets. And so now they're not able to achieve the destiny or their goal of getting to a higher position. So when we talk about power and confidence, and I know that coaching comes a long way when we talk about that. Maybe you wish that you had some coaching when you were going through all these difficulties of dealing with the circumstances and environment that you were in. Maybe that would have helped. So now that and I might be switching this up a little bit, but it's starting to be. I'm like, but now that you're coaching, you feel as though that you can help people to get, rather than going through the problems and issues that you went through, to try to navigate it more smoothly. Do you think that's right?
Yeah, it's two things. So my goal is to assist younger women. So even though I burned out, I mentored. It was 50 Black women, right? So we were 0.1%. 50 Black female officers out of 47,000 people. It was 50 of us, and that was a high number. And a lot of those younger women I mentored at a very young age. So I got them when my mentors were, or I didn't have any mentors initially. And I think I got my first mentor at 5 years. So my mentors were men. I didn't have a woman mentor. So, and ever. So I had 13 mentors. They were all men because there weren't any women. It's not a large pipeline of qualified women. So I didn't have a lot of women that I could talk to. And so what I learned was men couldn't prepare me for the challenges of the boardroom. But because even though they're men of color and I had different, races of mentors, they couldn't necessarily prepare me as a woman, being the only woman in the room, being a woman of color in the room. So I was exactly prepared. So what I do now is I train younger women on some of the challenges in navigating the office politics and the minefields and the psychological mind games. Because if you know what's going to happen, Renee, in a male-dominated environment, how can you protect yourself against this? How can you stand up for yourself? So that's what I taught the younger women who I mentored, who are now at the senior level. So when I left prematurely, it was so much guilt around that, but I knew I created a pipeline of women behind me, and it was time for me to pass the baton. So when they arrived at where I ended up leaving, they weren't as tired.
Okay, right. You know what I'm saying? Like, they built for this. You were built for this.
They were built. So it's two parts. So it's preparing the younger women, and then now it's also at this level understanding the challenges that senior, successful, highly, highly successful and bad ASS women, like what they do. I know what rockets are going off in their head. I know what they won't admit to because that's who I was.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And what I was thinking about when I was reading some of your books, and a lot of this is expressed in your book, is that and not that I read the whole thing or anything, but I got the idea. But it seems as though you stood in your masculine energy like 100% of the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I was a dude.
And a lot of people talk about, that masculine energy, which you was taking like total control of everything, everything. And I was just wondering, like, what kind of mental energy does that take to be in total control? And I don't know, did you have insomnia or anything like that during that time? Like, what was it like?
This is a great question. You're cracking me up because nobody asked me this question, right? So I love it. I was a dude. I was a male-dominated work environment, and so I do like to quote data, right? So there was a Harvard Business Review because the reason why I quote data is because I thought that I was the only one, Renee, and that was a part of the burnout, was feeling lonely and thinking that I'm the only person with this challenge, and I wasn't. there's data and research on this stuff, but I can't research the data because I'm too busy studying for a qualification or getting a degree. But they say that women who ascend to higher levels of success, we assimilate. So we surrender our natural tendency of empathy and compassion, and we pick up the energy of men in order to succeed. So what happens is men see women who own, I would say, their masculine energy. They see us as capable and competent, but they don't like us.
Yeah.
So although we're seen as their peers, we're seen as capable and competent, and that's how we get the performance reviews, and that's how we continue to be promoted. But our likability goes down, so they don't like us. Women don't like us either because we don't act like women. But if we acted like women, the men wouldn't see us as capable and competent. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely.
So, yeah. So yeah, I was acting like a man, which is why I was single for most of my career.
and not only single, but when we talk about, you know, the single life and being alone, you don't have a relationship with yourself. You don't have a relationship outside of anything else but work. And it's really fascinating to me that you call yourself now an ex-workaholic. And to me, when you say it like that, and all the things I've heard you talk about, you know, before our interview, it's almost like a disease. It's a disease that needs to be cured. And if you don't realize that it's a disease, there's so many things that follows, but like side effects, right? And you're trying to cure it, but you don't realize that's, you know, what you're doing is really curing that workaholic side of yourself. So how did you get to that balance? Yeah, when did you figure that you needed to have that balance in your life?
After I burned out. So after I exploded, boom, into 1,000 pieces. I mean, the burnout was catastrophic.
Almost every day, right? I mean, almost every day you were exploding at some degree. But at that point, I mean, how much more of an explosion had to happen?
Well, you know, when I think about being a workaholic, and I want to go back to the masculine energy part, you'll see some women, Renee, who work in male-dominated work environments. The longer they do it, the more they look like men. Have you noticed that? Like,
oh my God, no, that is so true. That's true. That's true. Absolutely.
They look like men. Yeah. They cut their hair like men. I remember, and I do want to go back to your question, but I'm going to recap on this. So I'm walking around complete dudage, right? No matter what I look like, and I am completely oblivious. And I remember me and my friend would go to Vegas, and people would think that she and I were together, and we would be like, "Why would y'all think that? And if we are together, who's the dude?" Right. That's the question. Be the dude. So I think the masculine energy piece, a lot of women who work in male-dominated work environments, when they don't understand why they're single, and they're single because they act like men. Right. Oblivious.
Yes.
Completely unconscious about it. So I offer that tidbit and nugget to women on, if you can't figure out why you can't get a man, you have to understand you may be acting like a man. And men don't want to date. Men don't want to date another man.
That's true. Absolutely. So, and then your other book, what is it? Feminology? Like that, at least that was the preface of it.
Yeah. Corporate Feminology.
So was that like your becoming, or the you know the Michelle Obama book, Becoming? Was that like part of your becoming?
Well, one of the things with corporate feminology, what I wanted to really do was when I went to Harvard, when I talked to in 2014, I talked to about 200 executive level women. And what I learned was, and these women worked at NATO, they were in high levels of government, they were doctors, they were lawyers, and I'm just on the phone talking to everybody. And what I learned was we had the exact same stories, like identical stories. And I said, wow, I thought I was by myself. I was not, because you had the exact same story that I have, whether they were Australian coal miners, they were Chinese women, Saudi Arabian women. I mean, it was crazy. Then when I ended up going to Harvard, what I learned was, and the women who were in our cohort, we had a lot of the exact same stories as well. And so what I wanted to do, Renee, was in corporate feminology is to show women that they're not alone, because we self-destruct in our heads at the top. This is why women aren't getting to the C-suite. This is why women are self-destructed in the C-suite. This is why women are taking medical leave and are stressed out and are down at their desk, because we don't have anybody to talk to at the top.
Yeah.
And if you understand that you're not alone, it makes you feel less isolated, and you say, oh, I'm a good company. I'm not the weirdest person in the world. You know, I am one of a few in this office, but if I understand my challenges are predictable, it does two things. It shows the younger women what will naturally occur and what they should prevent for themselves, but it also gives the women release at the top to say, you're not by yourself.
Exactly. And that is a good feeling to have, because for so many years you covered that up. You masked a lot of that for reasons that you thought, well, maybe because you didn't want people to actually, help you to reveal your problems when you already knew what they were. But you masked those for so long that it was driving you even more, like, I don't want to say insane, but you like to call yourself crazy, but in a funny but serious way. Like it's reality. Like you felt at that time that it was you, because you would do so many things are going on through your head at the same time, and you're battling against yourself, you're battling, the outside world, and then you're trying to devise a plan.
Yeah.
Devise a plan, and does that to some degree like cause like insecurity, or did you feel?
Go ahead.
Do you feel like with all that battling with yourself and against the world, do you feel like that caused any insecurity within yourself?
Two things I want to address what you talked about was, strong women have a high pain tolerance. And so I expected to be disrespected every day. Being disrespected became normal, normalized dysfunction, right? Like I expected to be stressed out and pissed off, and somebody going to say something every day. Like I expected stress every day. That's the problem. Stress was normal. Immense stress and challenges and problems and being disrespected have become normal. That's what eats you away from the inside out. So that's the problem, is start to accept BS, and expecting it and normalizing it and making it okay. It is not okay. And so that's one. Two, I had a high pain tolerance. So, when you're successful, I had so many knives in my back, you could stab me. I didn't feel anything. So the pain and the stress and the knives in the back and the people talking about me and being self-conscious and all this other kind of stuff, this is what happened. It was easier for me if you didn't like me than to like me, because I was in so much pain. So I would say something to piss you off just so you wouldn't like me, because I was so afraid and I was in so much pain. I didn't want to let anybody in. Don't come here. Don't stick. I have no more room for somebody to stick a knife in my back. So I'm going to piss you off. And if you stayed long enough, and if you hung around me long enough, you would figure out I'm not the villain that you think I am. I'm not the evil Cruella that you think I am. And so when I think about people talk about nasty women, a nasty woman or a mean woman is just somebody who's in pain. So I wasn't nasty all the time. So either you really like me, and these are my friends, either they really, 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 really like me, or you couldn't stand me. And either way, I was okay. There was no middle for me. And it was because of the pain.
Yeah, you have to be okay, especially when you have a certain goal in mind that you're trying to reach. And I think it was even beyond that. I think it's leaving. You rather not deal with those kind of people, and rather devise a plan in order to get ahead, rather than deal with petty things and people that don't like you, because it's going to happen, especially when you take that dominant place and in the world of whatever. Because like I said, it's control. It's control, and to relinquish that is not easy, especially when you feel like you worked hard. You went to, Harvard, which is a prestigious school. I mean, that in itself says that I'm intelligent, I'm smart, I'm bold, I'm courageous, and I am a fighter, and I'm willing to, take these leaps into, just courageous things that you've done. And I'll give that to you. And I love that you're here being transparent about your stories, not just the success, but also the trials and tribulations that follows behind it. So a lot of women won't be, in pain and suffering, and to find a coach or someone, if they're trying to reach the top and it's suffering in so many ways, to have someone, to have their back, to be a cheerleader. You are a strong woman, and I'll give you that. You are, absolutely. And it's nice. It's a pleasure to be able to talk to you and realize that even after all the stuff that you've been through, it's like a cleansing and a healing process that you stepped into. And that stepping into is the coaching that you're doing. You're freeing yourself. You're freeing yourself through teaching others and how they can have, how they can get justice for themselves and have equal rights and believe in themselves and leave self-doubt behind. All these things, like, you really carry that with you. I mean, in your bag, you carry that with you. And when I first spoke to you on the phone, I felt that you would be a good coach. Just the way you talk, your energy, your humor. But I know that there is a woman back there somewhere that will come out fighting, like, oh no, we're not going to butter up this conversation. This is what we need.
We don't do butter.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't do butter.
But I just wanted to give you that, because I love everything that you have done and accomplished and where you're headed now. But the one question that I have for you, and this is not, I don't know how you would answer this or anything, but not to be offensive, but did you at that time have a relationship with God when you were in this workaholic kind of mindset, when you were blinded? And do you feel like that was missing?
What's interesting is I was an atheist for 20 years, and I would pray when I got in trouble, and then God would show up, and then I would be like, yeah, whatever. Okay. And then I would get in trouble again. I would pray, he would show up. I was like, whatever. So in 2009, I started watching Oprah.
Right. Okay.
Because I was turned off by organized religion. I grew up in going to a small church, and I love my family, but people just talked about everybody. So I didn't see, and then God was a jealous God, and hell, fire, and brimstone, and condemnation, and damnation. And so it was a really scary person that people talked about. And I said, I don't want a part of that. Okay. And so I just didn't believe in anything. And so in 2009, I started watching Oprah, and then it was Wayne Dyer and Eckhart Tolle and Louise Hay, and they talked about the universe. And that was a loving energy and the source, and that was love, and it was joy, and it was light. And I said, that's the universe. Yes. Not knowing it's the same thing. It's, and over time I said, you know what? I want to be closer to God. And so as I started to go through these challenges, and as I started to have all of these things that happen, and so I visualized this life. This life that I have right now is the one that I wanted when I was having challenges in my job. It was the one that I wanted when I was at my desk at Friday night at 11:30 at night. It was the one that I wanted when I had a crazy boss. And that's when I ultimately left, is I had somebody who harassed me to the point of I was going to be destroyed. He was going to get me not promoted, and I did all the right things. And regardless of what the backstory is, so he was the straw that broke the camel's back. He wasn't the only reason why I left, because I was miserable anyway. He gave me permission to do the unthinkable, and that was to leave. But what I learned was I started to visualize this life, and I wrote it down, and I would speak it, and I would visualize it. So I unknowingly activated the law of attraction. And so the day that I resigned, I was laying in the bed, I'm crying because I'm being harassed, and they were like, Christy, file paperwork. And I was like, I don't want to file paperwork. I don't want to go through the civil rights process. Just make this man leave me alone, right? Like, I'm this high power workaholic who's done all the right things and checked all the right boxes in my 15, 16-year career, and nobody's going to stick up for me. Nobody's going to advocate for me. Nobody's going to take on a minority or a woman issue. And I had to learn white men will not turn on each other for a minority or a woman. Y'all better take note. So anyway, so I'm laying in the bed crying, and my arthritis, I have arthritis, and I'm crippled, and I'm lame, and I know I'm a little crazy, and I'm distraught. And I remember this voice said, put your gloves down, Christy, it's time to stop fighting. It's clear, I don't know who it is, because I wanted to be closer to God. I don't know who this person is. But it said, as clear as day, put your gloves down, Christy, it's time to stop fighting. And I said, okay. And then there was peace that came across my body. Wow. And so I knew in that moment I resigned. And so over time, and being led and surrendering, saying, all right, God, I'll serve you. I mean, it's good and I want to say bad, it's good in challenges when you say, God, I want to serve you, right? Because I had to become whole and healed, and that took 3.5 years.
Okay, and it usually takes a while, right? You have to be patient with that healing process.
It was insane, and to become fully whole. Powerful women were the women, like what I do now is who I was meant to serve, but I was not a willing participant in my purpose and destiny because I didn't want to talk to women, because I didn't want to tell my story. I'm a champion. I never wanted to talk about my challenges. I didn't want to talk about I had squirrels running around my head. I didn't want to talk about burning out. But my greatest platform, and that's what happens, is when you're healed, I know exactly what powerful women won't admit to. I know what they won't confess to, and because I have the success, because I have the pedigree, because I have the degrees, women see me as a peer, and they'll open up to a peer faster than they would somebody who they don't feel has achieved high levels of success. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So I mean that. Oh my gosh, that is crazy. I mean, just hearing all of that, it's just amazing. And now that, gosh, it's it's really like heartwarming to hear, because a lot of people, and I hate to even ask that question. I'm like, I shouldn't be talking about religion here.
What do you think? I've been healed, Renee. Ask me anything.
The reason why I asked you that, because, although I said workaholic, being a workaholic is more of a disease. Sometimes it's just not having a relationship with yourself, and because you are alone and you're not having a relationship with someone or something. Like, have a relationship with something or someone in order to bring that balance to your life, in order to bring more of you, the authentic you, and who you really want to be. Because you didn't want to be that girl. You didn't want to be, every single day being that person that if you weren't a woman, you wouldn't have had to deal with as much as you went through. Yeah. And you were just trying to prove that I deserve this, I'm worthy of this. And I have to fight, though, to get to the higher rankings. I have to do these things in order to get to the higher rankings. And when you finally, and I know that all that you went through was all meant to be, and it built you up to be the woman that you are, to be able to do what you're doing. But you had that wake-up call. And it told you that it's time. It's now you're free, Christy. You're free. And that allowed you that hiatus of that 3.5 years of healing and figuring out you and what you wanted to do for you to move forward and writing. How many books did you write in 1 year?
I did 5 #1 bestsellers in 8 months. So I published 8. I've written 12. So I'm sitting on 4 that I haven't published yet. They're already done. They're awesome too. I'm just sitting on them.
Oh my goodness. Like, what kind of mental energy does it take to write that kind of way in a short period of time? You had a lot built up. You had a lot built up, Christy. A lot. Like, I don't know how many authors even write like that.
Well, it was after the 3.5 year, right? It was when I took time. What happened was, after I burned out, I spent a year with a network marketing company selling coffee. People thought I had lost my mind. Here I am, this high-powered military officer, now selling coffee. It was I love this network marketing company because they were all highly personally developed people. And so spent a year with them, and then God said, stop now, because you can't get me if I'm always running. I can't heal if I'm always on to the next thing. So he made me stop, like, in my tracks. And so I spent 3.5 years in my brother's house in South Carolina. And I downloaded, so I became a follower again. So I was no longer a leader. I didn't have anybody working for me, and being a leader in the way that I understood how to live, which I was a great leader. I mean, I had high performing team, blah, blah, blah. You know, that's what I teach organizations, but I lost the ability to be able to value myself. I lost the ability to have balance. I lost the ability to, you know, when I think about earlier when you talked about fighting, why am I fighting? You know, like when I'm fighting to be the first Black female, blah, 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 what I learned today was that's not what I wanted. That's what other people wanted for me. So what we do sometimes is we fight for stuff that we don't even want because other people want it for us, or we fight because we're the first ones, or we fight because we're the only ones, and we pick up a mantle that's not necessarily ours.
Wow. Okay. Yep.
So that led to the problem. I was like, I don't even want this. This isn't even my dream. This is what I'm qualified and what I'm capable of doing. But why am I fighting for? And this is what I teach my clients. At this level, it's not about what's good. It's about what's right. And because we don't have vision of who we are, when you lose yourself in battles and awards and money and all these other kind of things, it's not necessarily what you were called to do. It's what you can do. It's what you're good at. So even though I had a good life, I had a good career, there was a great life waiting for me, but I had to give up the good to get to the great. And most people will die in good, or complain in good, or be sick in good, not understanding that there is value in great.
Wow, that is powerful. I love how you said that. Wow, that is amazing. Oh my gosh, that was good. Good. Oh, good. Girl. Go. So do you feel like now all the scars are healed, or majority of them are healed?
Yeah, when Paulo Coelho in his book, he says, scars and metals braided on the flesh. And it will scare your adversaries because they will see that you are a person who basically has, you know, a lot of experience in battle. So for me, it's there are phases of scars. So you have the people who are actively bleeding. I talked to somebody the other day and I said, look, you are trying to save other people. And so you need a tourniquet while you're trying to give them Band-Aids. You need to save yourself. That's one. So cut it out. Right? Like, you need a tourniquet. Your leg is about to fall off and you still busy serving. So you need to stop. Stop doing what's good and only do what's right. And give yourself permission to heal. But I don't have, you have the morning of when I had to stop, I started to look back at everything that I gave up for success. Mm-hmm. Right. And I started to mourn my personal life and mourn the 15 years that they weren't necessarily wasted, but they were that I could have done better and that I should have had this. I should have, would have, could have. And then it goes to the thinking of the pain causes me pain. And now look at the pain doesn't cause pain anymore. And now understanding that the pain was always worth it. So, and now appreciating the pain. So I hope I didn't lose you in that. So I don't look at the scars and say, oh my God, I feel so much pain. I look at the scars and I understand that it was all necessary to make me who I am. I mean, I can't ask women the question that I asked them and I dive deep immediately because we have to get to your root cause of your problem. But this is why people are set free so fast, because I know where to go to because I've done it within myself. Right. So I don't ask the nice questions. I don't ask the purple elephant questions. I'm going straight towards your pain, because if I can get that pain first and we can heal that immediately, you can save yourself. And it's about saving people I'm an overachiever. So I have to do this fast, but we have plenty of times we can play around, but at this level, it's about saving women. And again, whenever a woman finally admits that she's in pain, it means that she is about to go down, because we have a high pain tolerance. And by the time you say, I'm ready, you're already almost, you're probably about 60% about ready to check out of here. So if you don't do something, you're going to, I've talked to people who, Renee, that chose not to work with me, and that's okay because I'm not, for everybody, and you don't have to work with me. But three weeks later, they had a stroke.
Oh,
Or I've talked to people, and then a month later they had a heart attack. So again, by the time successful women finally admit, because I wouldn't admit that I had some stuff going on. I'm too busy trying to succeed. I'm too busy trying to excel. I don't want to slow down. And I'm not looking at myself. Now I can point out everything you got going on with you, Renee, but I'm not looking at myself. So I learned for every minute that I spend looking at you, and I can diagnose all your problems because I'm a coach. It leaves me one less minute to look at myself. So I don't look at other people. I look at me and be like, what's going on with you? Right. So the best thing we can do is mind our business.
Ooh. Okay. Well, in your book, when I read, which one did I was looking at the one where you interview some of the like prominent leaders in different countries. Which I thought was amazing. Right. Which one of those were your favorite of the ladies?
So I sent you two. Corporate Feminology is the book where is 18 Harvard Business School alumni. These women are they bring the thunder.
Wow.
18 women from 13 countries sharing their insight on what they do to win, and then also their challenges, so we can see, okay, I'm not the only person. Okay, so a lady in India, the one in South Africa, or the one in Tokyo has the exact same challenges that I do. But it's also, they show you there's a common theme, that there's stories that you will be able to see. This is how they got to those levels. These are what they did. And they all had challenges. Nobody rolled out a red carpet and say, hey, come take this, or hey, you deserve this. They had to fight, and it's grit in that. So that's what that book is about.
Mm-hmm. And who was your favorite one that you interviewed and you spoke to?
They're all my favorite. Let's see.
Favorite, whatever.
I think that Kali Way from South Africa is one of my favorite stories, because she was the country leader of Oracle, and she was South African country leader of Oracle, and now she's the country leader of a German software company, AG. So to be a country leader of a company once is amazing. Do it twice. And then I also talked about Samar Sella. Samar is the first Saudi Arabian woman to ever be appointed on the commercial attaché. So she's over for the country. She's over in Tokyo right now. So, I mean, the book has just some amazing women in it. So I don't necessarily say I have a favorite. Oh, and then you have Kelly. I mean, I can go over like, oh, I like Kelly. And then you got Danielle, and, all these women, they just bring it. Mm-hmm.
They all are amazing. They achieve some wonderful things. So for you to put them into the book, and I was really getting into that one. I was like, wow, this might be my favorite one. I was really enjoying that, because I think a lot of people, not only myself, a lot of people would relate to that, whether they went through challenges or not. It's just what's going on that they would, I'm pretty sure some of the things they can relate to, if not all. So that one, I was like really getting deep into. I said, I might have to buy this book. I really got into it. I told you that I love the name Champions Don't Tell, because now I can see why you named that one. Champions Never Tell.
Yeah. Champions Never Tell is 7 women, and all, when I say rock stars, all freaking rock stars, but we got harassed. And I actually started writing this book last August, before Harvey Weinstein. So we were a bit premature before times, but people wanted to know why women don't tell. And so whether it was Renetta, who ended up becoming Renetta in her law school, she was in law school, she was a law school intern. They ended up putting her in the bankruptcy file closet, while they used the other interns and sat them at mahogany desks with marble flooring and gold accents. And Renetta, the Black woman, was in the file closet. But Renetta used that energy. She ate it for lunch and said, this has never happened. Renetta ended up becoming the vice president for ethics and compliance for Walmart Incorporated. So, and then you have one, Jill had some challenges that were, so this is stories about how we were harassed, but we didn't let it stop us. And the reason why I wrote Champions Never Tell was to put a face on what is harassment. You know, what are, because we catch microaggressions, and I thought there was a weak term until I started to see some stories like that happened to me. Is that so? What is it? What does harassment look like? Because most people make you feel like you're in your head and it's not that bad, but it's eating away at you every single day. That's what that book is for.
Ooh, yeah, absolutely. Wow. So I definitely think that people should find at least one book of yours that they like. You have so many, and I was amazed hearing about how many books you had out there. That's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. So congratulations on your success on that. And wow, that's all I can say is wow. This story is really it's meaningful. It's valuable. I think it's going to be valuable to many women out there that listen to this and watches this, and just to maybe even, you know, I think they probably can see some things in you as well in those books. So, you know, just reading one book at a time would definitely they'll see themselves in your book.
One of the things I want to share, Renee, is the reason why I wrote Champions Never Tell is I ended up going to a group event, and I had a guy, because I don't have an ego anymore. God burned that out of me. He just
that's what I was going to ask you. Yeah, that's one thing that I can see. Definitely, you had to go.
I was super arrogant because I had to be, and I'm walking around acting like a man, and I was being tested and challenged and all these things every day. So my ego, like when I walk in a room, I'm super arrogant. And anyway, so I don't have that anymore, but I still have strength. So one of the things where women, and women of color in particular, go wrong is I don't have the baggage of the past anymore. When I talked about the scars, so when I was walking around carrying that negative energy and that fire and that electricity, when you say something to me, I'm gonna set it off. So people would always say, "You're overreacting." And Renee, this is why we don't make it to the senior levels, because we always got an attitude. And I'm not necessarily reacting in the moment for what you did. I'm reacting every single time I do something. Somebody, I mean, you know, so this thing has happened 100 times. So I'm bringing all of that energy with me as I, you know, whip you at what you just said to me. And so this is when we're accused, and when people say you're overreacting all the time, we don't know what they're talking about, is because yes, it's the energy from the past. And so anyway, so but I own my strength, and I am a strong woman. I'm not weak, but I am who I am. And I'm in this organized course, and this guy says something so nasty to me in front of 8 people, and these people don't know me, and we had just got there. It was so nasty, and I mean, he lobbed a freaking fireball across this table, and everybody, it kind of like sucked the oxygen out of the room, and everybody kind of looked at me to see what I was gonna do, and I was like this. Like what you just said to me has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do about you. But that night, when he was by himself, I went over to him and I said, "Hey, I don't appreciate what you said to me earlier. I found it to be very disrespectful." And he said, "Christy, I have a confession to make. Christy, you're such a powerful woman." And I don't really know what it's like to be around powerful women, because he was from a different country. In the country that he's from, the women are passive and submissive. And so he said, "So I did it on purpose. I just want to see what you were going to do." And your response,
just testing.
He said your response was so mature. It was like board of directors maturity, and that's the highest compliment that I can give you. And I'm standing there looking at him like, I said, "Hey, let me tell you something. Look, hey, I'm a little different. You don't pride powerful women, because had you called me 5 years ago, I would have cleaned off this whole. I would have rearranged the furniture in this room." And they would have sent me home. They would have like this, "You don't belong here." Yeah. But what I learned in that moment, Renee, was I had been provoked and taunted. That's what people do. That's how men get us, because they strike, and I would set it off, and I would drag them through the mud. I would go crazy, cuss them out, talk about their mama. I mean, you know, just freaking shatter their day. I'm gonna mess up your whole month. You say something, but now I've just destroyed my peace, and they've now taken position because you got me. So when men strike powerful women, either we shrink, they got us, or we rise and go crazy. People don't ever remember if I would have set it off in that moment, they wouldn't have remembered what he did to me. They would have just remembered my reaction.
The reaction. Yep.
So that's how we get caught up, because we don't understand that I knew that people do it on purpose, and so I would give them what they thought they was gonna get, which was cuss out.
Right.
But
yeah.
now I hold my peace.
Yeah, you're holding your peace, and that was not what you were going to do, because you, like I said, you were standing in your power. A lot of people can't do that. That's some courage to stand in your power and stand up for yourself.
You're like, I don't care. Yeah. So that I wanted to offer that to women, because I never could get Renee. I could never get somebody to admit that they did it on purpose, because I was never rational enough to have the conversation. Because by the time I did said some stuff to you and cussed you out and all these other kind of things, we're not friends anymore. But we're always tested, and how we respond is up to us, but we're so conditioned to react to the negativity or feed on that negative energy that it affects us when we go home. And that's the stuff that eats away at us. That's the stuff that creates the burnout. That's the stuff that creates the disease. That's the stuff that creates the arthritis and the fibromyalgia and the uterine fibroids and all the stress and the headaches. That's carrying that
pain,
anger and rage and resentment and guilt. I had so much rage running through my system. It ran through my veins like battery acid, and I had no idea until it wasn't there anymore. I was like, you've been very angry for a long time.
Ooh.
That's what I teach women to do.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. Ooh, that was a lot right there that you just had to get out.
I like to teach.
Good for you. I'm like, oh my God.
We gotta save some women. We got to save some women.
Yeah, I know that we're having some technical issues. I'm like, it's off and on. I'm trying to make sure that we're still like, in reception mode. We're getting some good reception here.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions, or are we just talking? Because I can talk all day.
If they have any questions, please feel free to ask Christy any questions that you may have. And also, I think I just get so wrapped up into the show that I didn't even put my crawlers at the bottom of the screen. But I think that we, basically, questions, I'm pretty sure we answered a lot of questions that may wanted to be asked, but so let me just see what I can do here. But yeah, it's an amazing journey that you've been on. And I know there were some really great, great things that came out of that. A lot of benefits of, where you were and certain, I guess it was like, in some ways it's a respect level. So you get benefits from that. It's the power position that you hold, that can benefit you in some way. But I mean, to be able to coach, and you also, you're a speaker as well. Mm-hmm. What things do you advocate on, and what things do you, because I remember listening to something, you said you go to seminars and people talk about the awareness of what happens in corporate, like we don't know, and really you wanted to know how to
think say I have no regrets. Oh, I'm sorry, you get blanked out. What were you gonna say?
Okay, no, you're fine.
Okay. One of the things that I want to make clear, I have no regrets in my career. I loved my job. I mean, I loved everything we did. And it wasn't, Renee, blunt force trauma. It was a slow bleed over time. And that's where women don't get it. We bleed slowly over time. And then it's going to be a point where when you're empty. You know what I'm saying? So my goal is, through my stories, is to make women aware of, you need to start taking care of yourself. Yeah, okay. And the second thing is, so I have no regrets. I mean, I've done a lot of things. I've led a life of adventure. I mean, I responded to Hurricane Katrina. We chased drug runners in the Caribbean. I've been all over the Caribbean. I've done all these things. And to mentor and lead people and to change the trajectory of their life and to get them promoted. So I have no regrets. Now, when it comes to when I talk on stage, really it's about how we create our own realities, and it's what we're allowing to put up with. And I would say one of the biggest things that I've learned, and what I talk about specifically, is women who are leaders. We're not only leaders in our jobs, we're also leaders in our families, we're leaders in our communities, we're leaders whether it's at the school. And so we start to take on too much, because when you're dependable, people call on you to do certain things. And so because you want to be needed, because you want to be valued, you start to continue to take on additional responsibilities and volunteer for certain things and be that person in your family and be that dependable person at work and be that dependable person at the church. And so at a certain point, you're now drowning in what you created. You're drowning and people are watching you laid out with 5% oxygen, talking about, but can I get that 5%? So I really want women to give themselves permission, because when you're a leader, you never take time for yourself to restore yourself. We are pouring from an empty cup at the top. And we're bitter and resentful, wondering when somebody is going to pour in our cups. Ladies, we have to give ourselves a season.
That is so true, how you just said that. You're like anticipating, like hopefully someone does, but no one, they don't see it because they see you. And they think that you just have the strength and you don't need any help. They don't think that you need any help because of whether that's a mask that you put on or just the presence and having that commanding or demanding presence that you carry. They don't think you need help. They think
we don't ask for help. We don't ask for help, but we're drowning and we won't let anybody help us. And because we think that we're supposed to do it all. That's the problem, is that so for that 3.5 years, when I burned out, I couldn't do anything for anybody. Mentally, physically, like I had nothing. And in that moment, what I realized was I was a terrible receiver. You couldn't give me anything because I got this. You couldn't buy me anything. I got this. You couldn't buy me lunch. Let me pay for it. So I was telling my friend this last night, we make terrible receivers and we're lonely and we're bitter and we're angry, but we can't receive anymore, but we will give everything. Give, and then become bitter because nobody's giving to us. But when they give it, don't give me nothing. I got this. I got the money. You don't have to buy me lunch. Let me pay for your lunch. Hey, why don't I pay for everybody's lunch? Because I got this. And so that ego and that energy keeps other people from being able to receive their good, to sow their seed. So we're not even good ground anymore because we're so hurt and we're so tired and we're so exhausted and we're so distracted, and we're creating our overwhelm, Renee. It was me. Now I can blame everybody else, and that's what happened in my 3.5 year incubation period. Was no, it was me. I did it. And when I stopped blaming everybody else, when I stopped wishing that my family would change and stop getting on my nerves, and I stopped wishing that guys would understand my strength, and when I stopped wanting my boss to finally get it together, or wanting my organization to create some diversity policy where they wouldn't freaking harass me anymore. So it was me. And when we learn to own our strength and then pull it all back in and give ourselves a season of we need to get it together, and standing in the eye of the storm and not being the storm, that's where you make clear decisions on, you know what? I don't think I want to be here anymore. You know what? I can now see my value, and this organization doesn't appreciate me, but I know what my value is, and now I'm going to go get another job with somebody else. And it's happened again and again and again, where people are just leaving to live that great life. So we're drowning in negativity and misery and all these things, not knowing that there's a life waiting for you to
waiting for you, actually. And then you found it, and now you're living the life that's been waiting for you.
Yeah, it's good too. It's good.
Right? I mean, tell us a little bit about that life that you live. Just a little bit. I mean, we got to talk about the goodness that you're dwelling in now. Like, what kind of life are you? What part of your life are you enjoying the most right now?
I get to do what I love every single day. I mean, my father said something a week ago, like, oh, you're always working. I said, I do what I love every single day. I love it. I love coaching people. I love training. I love speaking. I love it. But I'm able to tell my story transparently, which is, I love being able to, one, love myself and have peace and have joy and wake up with a smile and not fighting people when I sleep, because I used to fight you in my sleep. Because I was a little bit of, fighting all the time. And so I love not, I think if I step back into the organization now, I would be a completely different leader, but I have a break. And so this is the life that I visualized in 2009. You know, I said, and I wrote it down. When I retire, I thought I was going to get that money. When I retire, I want my office to be outside. I just showed you I was in Chicago on the river. When I retire, I want to be a greater blessing to other people. I want to be a speaker. I want to be a full-time coach. I don't want anybody to work for me. I want to, you know, meet a great guy. I want to be closer with my family. I want to have peace. I want to have joy. I want to be able to travel all over the world. So that's the life that I created. It's the one that I want every day. What I really want women to understand is we don't have vision anymore. We get trapped in the circle of life and the exhaustion and just the sheer multitude of things that we have to do, that we don't give ourselves permission to dream anymore. So one of the things that I've talked to so many women, they're so distracted and they want to do 100 things. But they don't, if I say, well, what does your professional life look like? They can tell me career-wise what they need to do for the next 5-10 years to be who they want to be. I said, well, what about your personal life? They have nothing. Like nothing. No crickets, no nothing. So you're giving no attention to your personal life, which is what my challenge was. I used my coach to talk about my professional life. I never talked about my personal life. So I'm dying and collapsing. So I had a coach. My classmate was my coach. But I'm only talking about work. I wasn't talking about Christy, the human, disintegrating on the inside, right?
Yeah.
So that's the life that I visualize is the one that I have. So women need to start to give themselves permission to visualize what life they really want and redefine success for themselves. So many women are operating on old data. I'm operating on my 20s, proving people wrong, getting these awards. If you read my bio, we'll be here all day. I got all that. And I never redefined what success meant to me in my 30s and, you know, 35 and 40. Success now means having peace and having joy and being able to have a relationship and stuff. Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, that is beautiful. I mean, because you mentioned all the things that we all should be striving for, and that's you know, having a relationship with ourselves. And you can also have all these other things too, but you have to, you know, put in the self-care and making sure that you not only have a relationship with yourself, but you're trying to build relationships with other people. And having finding someone that you can confide in, because if you don't, you know, if you continue to live that way, I mean, I don't even understand how anybody can live. I'm so sociable. I have to go out just to talk to people. You know, and I'm just glad that I'm able to read people in order to, you know, either you know, sway away or we talk and, you know, we can talk for days. But I just have to get out and socialize and talk to people. I just can't imagine living that life of solitude and like being by yourself and you're just working, just think about work.
Yeah, work is easy because it's easy to continue to prove. I mean, I remember going to a happy hour one night on a Friday and I scheduled this thing with my friends and I was at work on Friday night at 11:30 at night, like seriously working hard. I said, this is crazy. And so to continue to do that, and you know, work becomes the gap. When you don't have a life, it's easy to work. And I remember I actually talked to one of my mentees who is freaking rock star. So I started mentoring her about 10 years ago, and she was telling me all these things that she's done, and I'm like, do you have a life though? Right. So even though she said, you know, Ms. Rutherford, you're the only person who's ever asked me that. So as mentors and as people who are guiding her in her career, I'm the only person who said, hey, you need to get a life because work will always be there.
To be a robot in the career. Yes. So of course they wouldn't ask that question. Nobody asked that question. You know, for you to tell her that it was important for her to realize that. Absolutely.
Men don't, when you have male mentors, they never, or even, I mean, women, nobody ever tells you that you should have a life. And even though I think, or relationships, or you need to chill out or do certain things, or you acting like a man, and you, all these things that at the time in my career, I couldn't save myself from, I was saving the younger women from. Even though nobody told me these things, the things that I started to realize, and even though I'm digging this hole for myself, I made sure the other women that I mentored didn't dig the same hole for themselves. So it's just interesting to see 10 years on the other side of it, the effects, and to, when I think about now, I'm shifting over into training companies, to create a pipeline of qualified minorities and women, because I've done it already. I've seen what that looks like. I've seen what they need at the junior levels and at the mid levels, but really it's about teaching them balance, productivity, and having a life. Yeah. So it's not about work-life balance. It's always about what do you really want to do, and doing good things. It's doing right things and not good things.
And creating the life that you want, you know, whether that's personal or professional. Mm-hmm. Creating that life that you want. If there's a job that you don't want to be a part of or you want to be, you need to start, you need to start building a different story or reality for yourself, not just with that job. And that's one thing I can't even do. I used to be the type of person, if I don't like that job, I'm leaving. And I'll just have faith and believing that I'll find something better. And, I fell into that a few times to where I was like, I can't do this. I've done it long enough. And I felt at that time, my credentials, I'm like, my credentials and everything is way better and more than this. And I know I am too. It's not just my credentials, it's who I am and who I'm becoming. And I'm not doing this anymore. I'm like, this I don't want to live with regrets. Yes. I don't want to live with regrets. I don't want to be unhappy. I want to be fulfilled. I want to, also be an example for some people. Yes. But you don't have to deal with that. There's so many people, men and women, that have so many gifts and talents and skills. If they only apply it in one way or another, it doesn't have to be with a corporation. Look at me. I'm on Facebook talking to you because this is what I love to do. But I took certain steps to get me to be able to do what I love. I was critical thinking. It was like deciding what's next for me. What's the next level? What should I do now? In order to eventually get out of the box. Because I was like, man, I do not want to be circling around in this cyclical cycle of life. That is no fun. It's stagnant. It's boring. There's no life to it. It's like, okay, what do I need to do next? And it's, as soon as you ask that question, it starts to appear. You just need to be aware. You need to be aware enough to realize it may not be, that really huge idea or step. It's the little things. And that little thing should make you happy. If you're trying to get out of your circumstances, no matter what it is. And everybody has different circumstances. It's not always easy at that moment to get up and leave. But if you at least start visualizing and getting those ideas and start talking about it, wow, you'll get so motivated and driven to be able to get out there and reach your highest destiny and dreams. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I appreciate the insight that you offer on that, because you were at least willing to dream and to visualize and to say, I don't want this anymore. So many people have settled for what they think life has dealt them, that they don't think that they deserve or that they can do something different. And you were like, I'm about to do something. Like, I don't care. And you start small. You start where you are with what you have. Everybody thinks that they need more money. I blew $100,000 when I first left. I didn't know what I was doing. I had money. So I don't agree when people say I need money to start a business. You're like, no, you need to start. It's like David John talked about the power of broke. No, I blew money because I didn't know what I was doing and I had money. People took my money. I didn't do contracts right. I got robbed out of $9,000 here, $3,000 there. I mean, I'm doing all kind of crazy stuff because I had money. And so it's not, you don't need more money. You just need more education, or you just need more insight, or just, I mean, it's not about everything that you need to be who you want to be. You already have it.
I like that. Yeah. Okay. So a little bit more technical difficulty. So I'm not like picking up on. Okay. So, just give it a few seconds. It'll come back. Yeah. So Christy, I just want everyone to know where they can find out, whether that's find you, whether that's your website, or where they can find all 8 of your books, or 10, however many you have now. You can just let them know how to find you.
Yeah, everything is on my website, ChristyRutherford.com. My social media icons are at the bottom of my website, but ChristyRutherford.com, you can see whether you want to work with me as a coach or work with me in coaching, doing some training for your organization, or some stuff that I have, some programs and events that I have coming up. So ChristyRutherford.com, you find my books on there. and the links to them on Amazon and to the audio and the PDF, the ePDF versions on my website. Everything's on my website.
Awesome. And then just to let people know, I've seen some articles of clients that Christy's worked with, and she definitely will help you get to the top. So articles of them being featured in their corporation and their magazines, and maybe even more. I've only seen a couple of them, but they seem pretty significant in their rise to the top. So I know that what she's doing is working. So definitely reach out to Christy for coaching. And that's both in your professional and personal life. And as you heard through this conversation, she can help develop in both ways and in many ways for that matter. So please reach out to Christy if you have any questions or you have concerns or anything about, that kind of thing. So yeah, definitely. So, and if you want to be, go ahead, Christy.
Well, before we wrap up, when I think about my clients, and one of them, his company didn't release a press release, I was so disappointed because he just became the CEO of a hotel division of a large company over in Asia. But the only thing that I did with my clients is assisting them with getting their personal life in order. That's how they got to the next level professionally. And I say catapult. And so if you've been working here, but your value, if you've been working at this level, but you've only been at this level because there are people who are stopping you in between. Once you start to get those things in order, and once you start to have the vision, and once you start to get your stress in order and get your family in order and get your priorities in order and not be overwhelmed and get the vision, that's so they're where they're supposed to be. And they didn't get a degree or a PhD or anything else other than outside of themselves. What we did was we got themselves in order and played that strategic game that I love to play at the top. It's psychological mind games, and the strategic is like a chess. Right. So that's what we ended up doing, and building the right relationships and how to get to the next level. So all my clients that have been promoted, they've been given raises and bonuses and stock options. It's been bananas. And it's because, it's one, getting themselves in order, because you have to understand, and Renee, if you get to the next level, everybody wants to be promoted, but nobody wants to manage themselves where they are right now. So if where you're at right now is crushing you, what do you think is going to happen when you get to the next level? You're going to be annihilated. Yeah, manage yourself right now, and you'll get to the next level. And it came strategically, but then a couple of the jobs that came from the outside came easily. It's amazing to watch. That's what I do.
And at least they apply what you were teaching them. I mean, of course, you probably charged them like an arm and a leg, but
they invested in themselves. When you invest, you're ready.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. I mean, it's worth it. You have to invest in yourself. And, if you're willing to, you have to be willing first and foremost to be able to step into it. Because if you don't, then of course you're not going to succeed. But you have to be ready to, step fully into it, because that's where the power too. And, when you start stepping into that power of, achieving this, and you're applying the coaching and, teachings that you've been taught to step into it. I mean, it's some amazing results that can come from that. And as we can see, that's what Christy is doing. So once again, congratulations on your success, and keep doing what you're doing, girl. Keep doing what you're doing. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Well, thank you for interviewing me. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share insight with the audience. I hope that, the men and women who've been on this line have found this information useful. And I appreciate you too, your vision and the ability to be able to pick out people to really, I think, ask questions that have been asked, to be able to provide your audience with unique insight. So I appreciate you for that. Thank you, Renee.
Thank you for that. Amazing. So anyone that want to be on the Renee Adams Show, please reach out to me, inbox me. If you have a product or service that you want to promote on the show, or if you have an inspiring story that you want to share, reach out to me. We can talk about it. It could be, a lot of different things. I'm really open to that. But as long as it's not like a beautician or something like that, it would be kind of difficult to talk about on this format. But really, really open to a lot of suggestions. So please reach out to me. And I'll be on next week with another guest of mine. Her name is Christy too. So she's an actress, Hollywood actress. And she'll be on next week. So hopefully everyone tunes in. And again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Christy. Thank you. And find Christy on her website. Follow her on her LinkedIn or Facebook page, Instagram, and all those other handles. Amazing. So thank you and
Thank
have
you.
a great weekend. Thank you, thank you, thank you.